Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me on this latest upload. I really appreciate it. Just like to thank everyone that continues to like, subscribe and share, and thank you for all your lovely comments. It definitely keeps me going and gives me motivation to obviously keep doing this, so thank you very much for that. And thank you for your patience, just waiting on this recent upload. We've obviously been back on the grind, as they say. Right, so this is obviously, I would imagine that this topic is probably the topic, or one of the main topics on everyone's lips at the moment. There's always been gross hypocrisy in government, but Kier Starmer and his cabinet they've definitely taken it into new realms. There's no doubt about that. They are parasites. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And the evidence is there to say that this man does not, or his cabinet could not give a shit about anybody else in this country except from themselves. I would surmise they don't even care about each other. Because as with parasites, when the walls start closing in, they will eventually eat each other. And this Labour Party cabinet will certainly be no different. Everything's all right when it's all right. But when it's when things get on top, their true colours show. I mean, that's why when I'd said on my divide and rule video, the more we divide, they rule. However, if we start ruling ourselves, they will start to divide, in much the same way the mafia did. In the 70s and 80s, when the RICO Act was used, it collapsed because they seen the writings on the wall and they started to defect. And these cowards will do the same thing. But it looks like they're getting enough rope to hang themselves at the moment, and they certainly don't seem to care what anyone thinks. I'm saying that they're probably the most dangerous government that we've had, and this government at this time period was always going to be that. Whether it was Tory or Labour, it doesn't matter. That's what it was always going to be, because this is it's the last play of their, it's the final play in their playbook, really. It's their last chance saloon. Some of them think that it's a done deal. I'm of the opposite opinion to that, because psychopaths start to unravel when things, when the writings do appear on the wall, and when they unravel, they make mistakes, which is exactly what they're doing. So I genuinely don't know where to start with this, because this cabinet, it's not just one of them here and there taking things here and there. They're taking anything they can get their bloody hands on. Now, obviously, the one that most people will be laughing at the moment is no doubt Kier Starmer's son. Or he said he had to receive a 20 grand donation to live in an £18 million penthouse in the centre of London, so that his son could have peace and quiet to do his revision. Right, now, first and foremost, that's beautiful, that's really, really nice, but that is the biggest load of shite I've ever heard in my life. And I'm sorry about the language, but it's the biggest load of shite I've ever heard in my life. I watched him in a 10-minute interview on Sky News. Now, I don't know if it was a longer segment that had been edited down, but within that 10 minutes, he must have mentioned it 5 times that he was concerned about his son's GCSE results. Now, for the purposes of the record, I would love to know what these results were. Because when you look at the dates, and I'd seen this earlier on, I think the dates from the GCSEs in England, I don't know if it's the same up here, is from the 9th of May to the 19th of June. But the accommodation started at the end of May, the 29th, and lasted through into July. So maybe he was revising somewhere at the beginning of it, and then on the 29th decided it was too noisy outside, he couldn't hear himself think. So he's went to the penthouse in central London, stayed there and beyond for a rest after his hard work. It's the only thing that I can see is what's happened here. Now, it must be really nice to take your son to a £20 million penthouse just for peace and quiet, so he can get decent GCSE results. That's really amazing. But what about the people, Mr. Starmer, that are struggling to keep a council house going, and they've got nowhere else to go, and the pressure mounts and it builds with each month that passes, with each bill that comes in, with each price that increases, with each percentage of inflation that goes through. What are you saying to them? They will be worried that they won't have a house to go to. Now, you've already got a £2 million house in Kentish Town, and that you can obviously regard yourself very lucky for that. And if you've worked hard for it, you've worked all your days and all the rest of it, and you've stood fine, fair enough. That's fine. But so many people haven't got access to these bloody things. In fact, there'll be some people that will be worried sending their kids out to do their GCSE if they had enough food in their stomach, worried about the clothes they were wearing, which I'll obviously come to with your clothes donation. In fact, I'll just address it now. The clothes, I mean, to get, was it something like £20,000 of a wardrobe for his wife or whatever. Now, when I was doing work as a civil servant, I can't tell you how many calls I'd taken from parents, mums and dads, asking, saying, look, I'm really struggling, my son's growing like a weed, is there anything available to get him some casual clothes? And every single time you had to say no, there isn't. The only thing you could get was through the Flexible Support Fund if you were looking, obviously, to go for an interview or things of that nature. But if you were to go to them and say, look, they need some casual clothes, which builds self-esteem, it certainly does for me. I've had a few comments on here about the clothes I wear, but that I've always done that. It builds self-esteem. It's not about looks, it's about feeling. And you had to tell these people, no, there isn't. And that used to break my heart, it really did, because I can't imagine what it must be like for parents having to tell their children, no, we can't do that. Especially when those same children they'll be hanging around with people that have parents that can do that, although that'll be coming less and less as well. And yet he's getting it given for free, amongst many other things. Which brings me to his Arsenal tickets. Now, he had a season ticket for Arsenal FC, which is not cheap anyway. Their prices are disgusting, actually. But anyway, he had a season ticket, and his excuse is that he had to give the season ticket up because of security, and because it wasn't fair that the British taxpayer was paying for his security to attend his leisure time. Fine, okay. So, presumably he'll be giving the season ticket up. He hasn't said he has yet, but he can't attend matches because of the security issue. So what Arsenal Football Club did, they offered him a comp, which was a director's box, which comes in at £9,500 per game, which is an eye-watering amount of money. I mean, that's millionaire stuff, that is. There's only millionaires that are attending. That's the Millionaires Club, which he's more than part of. £9,500 a game in a director's box. Well, he's still holding on to the bloody ticket. As I said, I presume he'll be selling it or giving it away even, which is what he should be doing to a less fortunate person and it should be to someone who it would have been in their list last, that's what they would have been attending in their life. Like, they would have obviously sitting from a point of view where, well, yeah, I do like Arsenal, but I'll never ever be able to go there because my parents can't afford it, whatever. It should be a child like that was unexpected of it that should be given that. But he won't, and he's still, I mean, I don't know about now, but as of a couple of days ago, he still hadn't given it up. Presumably he'll be putting it onto the bloody Westminster fucking Facebook marketplace, no doubt titled Souls for Sale. But we'll see what he does with it. Like I say, he'll have to give it away. And it should, you really need to give loads of them away, but he's only got one or whatever it is, or two or three, or if it's him and both his kids, I'm not exactly sure. But it's stomach churning. It makes you feel sick, and it really, and I mean, nauseous is an understatement, really. That this is going down, and he's saying that, well, I deserve my leisure time, and it's not fair that the security is paid for by the British taxpayers. So, well, hold on a second, Mr. Starmer. Life, and in the advancement of life, and the advancement to the next level, dictated by yourself, requires sacrifice. Now, sacrifices are needed. If you wish to move from point A to point B point B being perceived as the next level, then some things that were operating in point A will need to be discarded for the pursuit of point B. Now, point A is leader of the opposition. Even then, I don't know what the stance is in that. But if you've gone from that to point B, which is Labour Prime Minister, then one of your sacrifices should be that you're no longer one of the people, regardless of how many times you say that on a camera. We're all in it together. Well, we're not, because we're all not all sitting at directors' boxes. Some people can't even afford to watch football on the bloody telly now because it's so expensive, because all these big companies keep coming in and bloody charging people. It's just unbelievable. And yet you're getting given these comps for free. But you're not one of the people anymore, are you? So what you should say is, well, yeah, I'd still like to go to the games, but I'm the Prime Minister now, and he shouldn't have time to go to bloody games. He should be saying to them, well, the director's box, that's nice, these lads, but that's for people that's doing their job right. This country's literally burning in places. People are being let out from jail, which is all part of the Agenda 21 to plan to sow chaos. And yet he's been given these comps, and not only that, he's taken them. It's one thing to be offered, but he's taken them, so he obviously thinks he's doing a good job. That's what proves he doesn't give a shit about us. He is doing a good job. Not for us, but for them in Davos. And that, which Jeremy Corbyn labelled a bloody billionaires jamboree. Which is why Jeremy Corbyn was ousted by Starmer. And he was actually heckled at a conference recently. And he had the cheek to turn round and say to the bloody heckler, you must be mistaken, mate. You must be thinking this is the 2019 conference. We've changed the party. I see that, mate. I see you've changed the party because it's unrecognisable even to Tony Blair's day. As big a scumbag as the man is. At least he was good at lying. He made you think that things were okay. Which, obviously, that's no good either, but this guy's just blatantly standing up in podiums and lying to people. Like I say, obviously with the GCSE, getting his son quiet time for revision, which is nonsense. It's just utter nonsense. And like I say, working class people, the football was supposed to be for the working class people. It's not anymore. Even for the working class can't afford it now. And yet he is going to the games in that box, and again, that's a sacrifice he should make because he's leading the country now and he's not doing a very good job of it. So why he would want to be seen in that setting anyway? Because I wouldn't want to show my face, but he's obviously not bloody bothered. Now, these parasites, they're parasites for a reason. They take, and they don't really want to give anything back other than to the people that sanctioned them to do it. Now, as I mentioned in one of my videos, the Starmer Stalin one, Agenda 21 is very much at play here. The boxes are trying to be ticked vigorously by this Labour cabinet. And I noticed the other day there that anyone that's got a second council house, the tax is going to be increased on that. Now, that's just another expense. Now, what's a cause and effect of that? For people to turn around and say, well, actually, I can't afford that. I'll need to sell it. I'll need as well get the money in. At which point it will be bought up with the government to give to a family that comes here from overseas. Ticking the Agenda 21 box in the process. Thou shalt not own any property. Thou shalt be happy. Not to mention the 1.5 million homes he's building for more, while British people go homeless and struggle to pay their bills. But it's okay, because Kier can still attend the Emirates every week in his fancy box, so that's okay. Also seen as well that he's decided, I don't know when this is coming in but he's apparently decided that moving forward, like I say, I think it's after 2030, it probably will be, any car dealership that's going to sell a car with a conventional combustion engine in it will be fine. Like, industry hasn't taken enough hits with regards to the COVID crisis and the COVID scam, which was always created for one of the main reasons to undermine the world economy, which is exactly what it's done. And now what they want to start doing is they want to start putting fines onto people that try to make money to try and get them back to where they were. the world stops if that happens, which again is Agenda 21. It's all about the survival of the fittest, which is very much a eugenics. It's a eugenics take-on thing. It's basically on page 1 of the eugenics handbook. Survival of the fittest. It's what the Nazis were all about, and everyone else will be discarded, and that's just the way it is. And the fittest that do remain will do as they're told. And that's where all this is hit. This is where all this is heading. Now, it brings me to the fact to the winter fuel allowance. Well, this guy is getting all these handouts, £107,000 in freebies since 2019. Comps for football tickets, Taylor Swift concerts, the video I done with regards to the protecting Jimmy Savile, we'll go and watch that. He's received comps from gambling companies, from companies that use the same cladding that caused the Grenfell bloody fire. I don't know how the victims of that would feel, as I said in the video. And yet, he wants to take something like 1.4 billion from pensioners. Now that's what it would cost. It would cost 1.4 billion to give pensioners £300 to heat their homes through the winter. He has removed that. And when the lady at Sky News had said about why he'd removed that, the first thing he came out in his defence was, well, it was the Tories that done it. It's nothing to do with us. It's Tories that's created this black hole. But then you take the 11 billion, and I said it was 10 billion in a video. I've since found out it's 11 billion that he's given to developing countries to fight their climate change agenda, which is not happening. It's not happening the way they say it is. It's just a load of nonsense. That's 11 billion. They can just give away. But 1.4 billion has to be taken from the pensioners of this country who contributed to this country being made what it was. And yet, I dread to think what some of them will be thinking, moving into this world now that that's been removed. And I'd love to know what they're thinking after being told he's just given 4, 5, 6 times that, more. 8, 9 times that, almost. Away to a country, or countries, to fight something that isn't essentially happening. All while he fills himself up in all these bloody freebies. Free gear Kier, they've named him. 2-tier Kier's another, obviously. I mean, he's had more nicknames than anyone in such a short space of time, and yet all they can do is blame the Tories. But see, this is the thing, people. Now, can you now see anyone that watches this, that still votes, that still believes in the old two-party state, that if you don't vote for X, Y will get in? Do you now see the problem with that? It does not matter whether it's X or Y that you vote for. The same people behind X and Y are pulling the strings. So it doesn't matter whether even the Tories had won it. This would still be happening. It wouldn't matter even if the Lib Dems had got it. This would still be happening. It might be slightly different, but it would be the same end for us. The same austerity for us. So it doesn't matter. It does not matter. All that shite that I took for people in my life, that if family members say this to me, no, you can't complain about the world or the country because you don't vote. And it's like, no, you can't complain about it, mate, because you are voting. You're voting for a failing system which gives it credibility. And as long as they've got that, they've got you. And that's what they need to understand. But ignorance is bliss, apparently. It's also very strong and destructive, and it's the reason we're bloody in this mess. It is one of the main reasons we're in this mess, because we're unable to face the facts. But the future's bleak if we don't, because you can't ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And this is the point here. All the people that ignored it from 4 years ago, everything that's happened since, ignore. It's okay, it's fine. I'll just ignore it and get on with my life. It matters not. The agenda will continue, and it has continued, and it's raced forth. It really has raced forth. And just when I mentioned COVID, actually, Starmer as well, a few years ago, I think it was in 2021, he recorded a COVID message which was jam-packed full of bullshit and lies, I don't mind telling you. I'm sure you're shocked. With regard to masks, so the masks, you need to wear masks because it will stop the spread. It's just basically all the nonsense that was coming out. It's like, look, mate, if the masks work, viral particles are 1.6 microns, the pores in the mask are 10 microns. So how the hell can that keep viral particles in? But anyway, that's what he was sitting saying on this bloody video recording. And it turns out that video was actually recorded in the same penthouse suite that his son spent time in to revise. But what he did was he actually placed photographs around the area and Christmas cards, whatever it was at the time, to make it look like he was in his own property when he wasn't. He was in this penthouse. So they had a government that was telling you, even though they weren't the government at the time, but they were pushing out the restrictions, telling you to follow these guidelines. And yet they weren't following themselves. And not only were they not following themselves, they were deceiving you on camera to make it look like they were following it. And that's where we're at with that. They knew all along that was bullshit. And yet here they are, that very same party are now here parasiting from people. Now, Angela Rayner, I don't know if you've heard this, but the mum that told me about this, she had received a bloody makeover to look good. It was to look good in like conferences and photo shoots or whatever, and it was taxpayers' money that bloody paid for that. Rayner, echoed up in Ibiza while the country that she's supposed to be helping run burns. And again, she's another one that if you're going to, I've not got a problem with taking time off, especially if you're going through stress or whatever to try to do your job. But you're not doing a job for us, so if you are going to go away somewhere and try and recuperate and recharge your batteries, then I don't think dancing and raving on a bloody dance floor is the best way to do it. When I first heard that, I thought they were bringing it up for when she was younger or something like that. But then I found out it was when she was in the job. It's like, fucking hell. But that's the way it goes, and she's taking money to get makeovers. And then there's Sue Gray. I mean, this Sue Gray, right? She's the chief of staff. I'll come to the article in a minute, but our son is now a politician, and she received he received a 10 grand donation for the same guy that donated to Kier Starmer, because he's obviously a Labour Party donor, right? But Sue Gray, she left some job. I found this article. Again, I'll hand it to the Guardian. If you're going to criticise mainstream media for what they do wrong, you've got to give it credit for what it does right. And I've read a few articles recently, been quite good, But apparently Sue Gray is refusing to cooperate with a government inquiry into her departure from Whitehall amid concerns that the investigation is politically motivated and not based on any official process. Again, this is the thing, if you're telling the truth and you're being real and honest and authentic, what difference does it make? Simon Case, the head of civil service, which is failing. I mean, it is failing. Go and watch DWP videos and you'll see that. He's another one that should be bloody hanging his head in shame when he's out in public. Faced fresh questions over his handling of the controversy after ministers failed to publish the outcome of the inquiry despite widespread briefing that it would find had she broken the civil service code. So she obviously has, because she's not want to cooperate with it. Gray, who led the investigation into Partygate, I mean, it's craziness. It's like the Warren Commission investigating JFK, the 9/11 Commission investigating 9/11. The people who were behind it were on the commission, their pals were on the commission. It's pointless. So she's leading this investigation into Partygate. Well, we're all bloody, well, I didn't but a lot of people following restrictions and doing their toll thinking that they were going to die if they didn't, yet these people were doing this. And Gray, who's the chief of staff, who's obviously an idiot, and she was the one as well, actually, that she'd received Taylor Swift tickets, which, again, is wrong for me. She should be doing that. Or at the very least, all these freebies, why are they bloody not paying for it out their salaries like the rest of us have to do? That's what I don't get. That's why people are up in arms about it. They make more money than most of us, and yet they get all these freebies. It's backhanders. It's bribes for the fucking bullshit they've put on us. So she received comps for Taylor Swift, and do you know what the excuse was? The excuse was that she had to do it because her daughter would have harped on at her and she would have been really upset. So she had no choice but to accept them and take them. Now, I understand that. But what she should have done was, well, I'll buy them and take you. like what any mum would do. But to use that as an excuse is just sheer and utter nonsense. And what I say to you, Sue Gray, is, what are you saying to the parents that have to tell their kids, no chance, Ticketmaster tickets are just too expensive, I can't take you. They need to break their kids' heart. And what's more, now there'll be people that can't even show their bloody children that on YouTube, because I know people are struggling to even pay their internet connections. I know, I've people tell me that. So it's getting to the stage where these people, ordinary working, hard-working people, can't even show them on their kids that on their internet. So that, for me, doesn't fly. It's nearly as bad as Kier Starmer wanting to protect his son's GSE results by taking it to a £19 million penthouse for a couple of months. It's nonsense. Honestly, anybody that believes that, honestly, I feel sorry for you. Took the government by, she led the investigation into Partygate, took the government by surprise when it emerged. She had been offered the role of Kier Starmer's Chief of Staff to help Labour prepare for power. It led the inquiry into her departure from her previous job. In a written statement on Tuesday, the Cabinet Office Minister Oliver Dowden said Gray had chosen not to engage with the investigation so the findings would remain confidential. Just like what Rayner done in that Davos when the reporter asked what they were talking about, you had to tell them that, oh, that's confidential. Well, hold on, we voted for you, hen. I want to know what you're being told, and more importantly, I want to hear what you're saying to them so I can compare it to what you're saying in campaigns. But we're not allowed that, are we? In order to maintain confidentiality towards an individual former employee, I am able to, at this stage, to provide further information relating to the departure of Miss Gray whilst we consider next steps, he said. So yes, data protection nonsense. Yes, people's phone numbers, addresses, private, confidential stuff should be protected. But this data protection shite's been used as an excuse to hide stuff and to purposely not tell us the truth, which is going to have to be done away with if we're going to get out of this, people. And what's more, we're going to have to learn to face it. The potentially explosive report is now not expected to be published until at least after the government's appointments watchdog decides whether to delay Gray's start date as Starmer's Chief of Staff and may not be published at all. Well, I've got something to say about that because I want to see it. Whitehall insiders said the Cabinet Office decision not to release the report followed 24 hours of intense negotiations over times between Case and Tory ministers. It is understood Case initially wanted it to be published and then changed his mind. He's probably been visited by somebody and said, look, you publish that, mate, you're in trouble. Have you seen what we can do? Oh, I've changed my mind on that, people, sorry. Maybe it's not a good idea. In the interest of national security, that's the shite they hit us with most of the time. No, it's in the interest, sir, of your security. Because your security will be at jeopardy. So will your freedom. That's why you bloody want to hide it for us. Just be honest. Don't insult my intelligence or our intelligence. While says the Cabinet's decision not to release the report for Twitter intense negotiation over time between... They claim Case, who has faced criticism for his involvement in a series of crises, including the Partygate scandal and Richard Sharp's resignation as BBC chair, had overreached by initially allowing plans for the publication of the findings to go ahead. The Guardian reported last week the Cabinet Secretary had pushed for the Advisory Committee on Business Appointments, a COBA in brackets, to delay Gray starting a new job until after the general election next year, after the pair had clashed. So this was obviously last year. I mean, it's just... these are the bloody people that's been wished into government by the tyrants of this bloody world so that they can push more tyranny onto us. And it's just... I mean, honest to bloody God, how much more of this are we going to take? So, sorry, actually, I just checked my notes there. Sue Gray was not the one that accepted the tickets with regards to her daughter saying that her children be happening on. That was Bridget Phillipson, who's the Education Secretary. Sorry about that. She had accepted these Taylor Swift tickets, and that was her excuse that she didn't want to hear her kids bloody harping on at her for not taking them. So again, so that message with regards to people not being able to show them kids on the internet should be directed at her. I do apologise about that. So... that then brings me to the Foreign Secretary, which is David Lammy. Now, this man, how this man is a Foreign Secretary is absolutely beyond me. And surely, somebody that is going to do that type of job, surely you would need to have some kind of diplomacy about you, some kind of diplomatic personality. you would definitely need to have had some kind of interest in geography and borders and countries and all that type of thing. But see this David Lammy, I'm telling you, I'll be surprised if he knows where Scotland is, because he is a complete and utter balloon. I was not a geography genius by any means, but I could do that job better than what he could. Now, if I were him, the first thing I would do is go back to whatever high school he attended and ask the current geography teacher to do him a crash course in geography, so that he doesn't bloody embarrass himself any further. Because I've only watched a couple of clips with him, and that frankly was enough. I couldn't watch anymore, I thought, because it angered me so much. I thought, this guy is supposed to be a foreign secretary, and he clearly, I don't know where they got him from, but he's certainly not got the credentials to do that job. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And obviously, you sit back here and you say to yourself, right, I mean, the last couple of weeks I've kind of said to myself, I've got to concentrate on myself just now and just try and build a wee bit more and get some content going about in the head. But then you kind of tune into the news for a couple of days and you just think, well, I have to do videos on this because this is current events. And every day something new comes out about these people, about what they're doing. Increasing council tax so that people will sell their bloody homes. And then, I mean, I look around here, there's lots of houses for sale. I mean, I don't know, like, if they think they're going to get in a council house or whatever, like, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but they're obviously buying them up to give to immigrants. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I mean, for a guy that's taken £107,000 in freebies since 2019, I find that quite sickening. And I actually meant to mention the Jeremy Corbyn fiasco in my Starmer in the World Economic Forum video. And what they did to Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn was all for the many. He wanted to help the people. That's why he condemned Israel, as we all should. Not the Israeli people, not the Jewish people, the Israeli government, Netanyahu and his cronies. That's why they done that, and he was ousted because of that. He was accused of being an anti-Semite, and as I said before, he didn't want anything to do with Davos, his billionaires jamboree, and he was ousted. He was completely alienated, and he got more votes than what Starmer got. I'll say that again. And yet look how they treated him now. For him to turn around at that conference and say to that heckler, you're thinking this is the wrong conference, mate. I think that's just pure cheek. And he's deflecting with that because he knows what he said is just complete and utter nonsense. But I actually think that he's not a bright man. Definitely not. I wonder if he's in full control of his faculties. I would place money on he's not. He's definitely a sellout, along with the rest of his cabinet, Angela Rayner, Sue Gray, etc, David Lammy, and this James Timson idiot who's letting everybody out of bloody jail. I look at that guy, he got out him with the tattoos in his face. He said, oh, they know I'll be back. They know I'll be back. I thought it'd have lasted a couple of months. 3 days later, there was another video to say he'd been arrested and put back in. So, I've met people like that. What's the point? But this was all again in the Agenda 21 to defund the police, to go softer on crime, or some crimes, paedophilia being one of them. Lighter sentences, people being let out, they're not even doing sentences anymore, so the deterrent for that, it doesn't deter some people anyway, but it deters most of us to not have your freedom taken away. That's not in the equation anymore. So if you're thinking about doing a crime, you're not really factoring the time into it now, because you'll be looking at Labour's policies. Not to mention their immigration policy, which is totally destroyed the bloody country. I'm sure you'll all agree. What can you do when people keep voting, ladies and gentlemen? That's the question I'm asking you. And then I seen on this advert the other day there actually as well, that you can actually vote from anywhere in the world now, and I thought, well, that's a recipe for disaster, because that's what they're going to abuse. They're already abusing the electoral system, so they're going to abuse it even more with that. They've always done that. As this famous saying goes, politics. No, it's not the voters that determine the candidate. It's the counters, and that's not changed just now. And it certainly throws something onto the Labour debate. Like when you look at Corbyn and Starmer, the guy that was ousted and was told he was the problem, got more votes than the guy that's been kept, that's said is the saviour, but is actually the problem. Everything is inverted. Everything is upside down. It's like that Alice in Wonderland quote. The upside down. I can't remember exactly how it goes. I had it memorised, but it's an amazing quote, and it tells the story of this world perfectly. How everything's upside down. Like doctors destroy health, governments destroy freedom, all that other stuff. That's a different quote, that actually, but it tells the same story. Universities destroy knowledge, etc., etc. I can't remember the whole thing. But it is upside down, and we need to put it back. And I'll say it one more time, it starts with taking responsibility, even just a small bit of responsibility in your own life to correct something that you know you're doing wrong, that you know what the right thing to do is, but you've not got the motivation to do it. I've still got that now. But we need to try, and that is the first step to changing it. Because as long as we sit back and don't do anything and think that we're just idiots, and we need them to do it for us, then I just don't see much of a future for us. It will be something akin to 1984 or Equilibrium or something like that. But I know we're better than that, and I know we will get out of this. It's just going to take a bit of hard time and effort. And the human spirit is an amazing thing, though. As I've said, we've got stardust inside us, and we can use it. We've had it used against us long enough. It's time to start using it for ourselves. Thank you very much for watching this latest upload. I really do appreciate everyone's continued support. The next video is going to be about Lucy Letby. I found an article. I'll go into it. Obviously, it's going to be based around her conviction, but the article was based around how it operates in court and what that means. And I'll go into it in the video. I think you should find it pretty interesting, because there's definitely something not right there. And I'm not sitting here saying she's innocent. I'm not saying she's not, because I've not done enough research on it. I've only done a few wee bits here and there, but I will put quite a lot of time into it, and hopefully have it uploaded for over the weekend sometime at the earliest. So thank you very much again for supporting me, and I'll catch you on the next one. You look after yourselves.